Welcome to the final chapter in our 7-day journey. Yesterday we learned how to use browser APIs. Our assignment was to get creative while building a custom carousel/slideshow. Since this is nearing the end of our journey, I want to go code this one out in front of you instead of just doing a pure review of the code. So this is the assignment from day 6. Currently, there's no JavaScript here, so there's no functionality. I just wanted to show you that I didn't add much CSS. Pretty much all I did add was Bootstrap. And I just want to show you that these images aren't all image tags. I added the background image CSS attribute to certain elements. And if I haven't shown you how to get those, it's pretty easy. If there's an image that you want to get, you can right-click it, reveal in Sources panel, and when you get here, you can just right-click, copy image as data URI, and then in your CSS, whatever class you're going to use, you can just use the background image property URL. Make sure to put these quotes here, and in the middle of them, just hit paste. And the reason I used the data URLs was just because I was using divs for my images instead of image tags. The images are from picsum.photos. So let's start writing an iframe that has the code for this very site. Bootstrap carousel. And then I made this drop down, which you're able to click on options and they will bring you to different slides. And then this one particular slide actually has HTML in it. And if you click this button, the code for this project will appear down at the bottom. So the HTML on this page is fairly simple. So we're bringing in Bootstrap CSS up top. And then most of these classes are just Bootstrap classes. So you can style with CSS. You don't have to use Bootstrap. This gives something a width of 100%, height of 100%, some padding on the top. So it's just these little style things, not super important for our JavaScript. So then we have this My Slider element, this big thing, and this is a slideshow. We saw how to make those with the carousels. This list here, Bootstrap will style as these little, they may be difficult to see, but there's little rectangles down here. They're called indicators. Clicking them will go to different slides when the slideshow is running. And the cool thing is we can actually put these attributes on any HTML element on our page. And without writing JavaScript, we could click them and they would take us to a slide. But even though I put these in, they're not really part of the JavaScript aspect of our project. I just think they look nice. So my different slides, I have this one that we're looking at, check out the JS, has a check it out button right here with an ID of C code button. And then we just have an item with a div that's an image of a cactus. And the image of the cactus is just a CSS data URL. Same thing, another one with a wolf, one with a car, and then one with a cat, or cat's nose. Underneath that, there are controls. Now these are the two controls. They're very faint. They're on the left and right side of the slideshow. Similar to the indicators, Bootstrap sets up the events for this, and it will go to the previous slide, and this button goes to the next slide. And so we can use this to create buttons if we want to control our slideshow. I'm also going to show you how we can do it with JavaScript though. So this set of options here, I want to make them control this slider. This has a name of slide number. And then down here at the bottom, when we click this button, I want it to put the code from this actual project that we are working on now. So let's just write the JavaScript out really quick. So we'll grab that select. It's called slide number. When this changes, we're going to trigger an event. Again, we could use regular functions here, or we can use these anonymous functions that do the same thing. So now, anytime we select a different option here, we want to get the value of that option. You can see the value will be the slide that we want to go to. We can get that value very easily. Just get the selected option, search within the target of the event. So that would be the select box. We're searching in that for a selected element. And then we just grab the value of that. So then we are going to create a function that will go to any slide we want. We will call it select slide number. It will just take one argument, which will be the number of the slide that it should go to. My slider is the ID of our carousel, and we will use the Bootstrap jQuery carousel API and just send it to the slide number passed into this function. So we could call this function just as a function or however we want it. We don't have to just use it with these options. That's the benefit of making an isolated function. You can call it from within an event or use it outside of the event. And so we will call that function and we'll just pass in this value. So the next thing we need to do is I would like it so that when the slider changes to a different slide, that essentially you can't click on a slide number that is active, because that doesn't make sense, right? Why be able to choose a slide that is already being shown? So let's actually get this carousel fired up and we will build that functionality. I'll hit play. So now the slider is moving. You notice that we're not seeing images. This is because of the divs that I used for the images. So the reason for this is that images have a certain width and height, and our div does not. I'm going to write a quick function. This isn't super important. Anytime, this is just important if you want to use divs instead of using images. So we're going to write a function called Resize Images. And this is going to trigger anytime the window is resized. And basically what it's going to do, it's going to find the images on the page that have this image class. So they're actually not even images, they're divs. It's going to find them, and for each of those, so we use the jQuery each, which passes in an index, and then also the actual image element. So those are the two arguments to this function. It is a number, like the index of the array, and then the actual element. We want to get the width of the parent element. So the element that our image is in, we want to get the width because we want to make our image that wide. And then the height is going to be 500 divided by 900 times image width. And I got that number because these images are supposed to be 500 height, 900 width. So if we get the width we want them to be, and then multiply that width by this ratio, then we should get a proper aspect ratio. So then remember, we have a single image here. We're going through all of them. So we take this image and then we just set its CSS. We want to set its width and we want to set its height. And so the width, we just use image width, likewise the height, image height. All right, so I'll actually show you. If I run this, that function is going to run anytime we resize the page, which we have not done, so it's not doing anything. So once I resize, now we see, oh, our pictures are good. And the reason we needed to work on resize is because when we resize the page, the images change size. So we need this to run once when the page starts up, and we could either just call it like this, or if we had multiple events that relied on a window being resized, we could just force the window to resize. So this just triggers an event. Any window event handlers for the resize will get triggered. And since we have set up an event handler for resize, it gets triggered. So now if I run this again, our images should be good right off the bat. So now, I want to make it when a slide is active, that option is not active. And to do this, I'm just going to grab my slider. This is something you could put into a function, but you don't have to. We're going to use the event slide.bs.carousel. We could actually use slid. They're both events. They both do something similar. So slide.bs.carousel lets you know when a slide is about to change, and slid is called after the slide is changed. These are Bootstrap events, not regular JavaScript events. So anytime the slide goes, we are going to have an event triggered, and I will just show you. The event has a special property to and from. That'll tell you which slide is going to, which slide it came from. See, 1, 2. So every time that slider goes, we get an alert. It will happen every time. See, I didn't even move the slider, it moved on its own. We still get this alert. So we get the number from event 2, and then we're going to grab our select, which we already have here, so I'm just going to use it. And I'm going to say, let's find any option in this select, set the attribute disabled to false. So this will make them all not disabled. And then we know this will return the same collection. So we take our selector, we find the options, we set their attributes, and that returns back to us the same collection of options. So we get this. And now we're going to filter that because we don't want them all. We only want the ones whose value, so the value of the option, is not equal to the number that we got up top. Let's call this slide num, just because it's a little bit more descriptive. Even this, I think we should make it a little more descriptive. So we're going to find all the options, make them all not disabled, and then we're going to filter them for ones that have a value only equal to the slide number that the Bootstrap slider just changed to, and we're going to set the attribute disabled to true only for that one. Okay? So let's run this, see if it works. And we can see it does. You can see the second slide's disabled. Okay, so it seems to be working. So the last thing I want to do is take this button and have it show the code for this page at the bottom of the screen. And to do that, we just grab the button. It has an ID of C code button. And you can do either on click or just click. Pass in a function. And the function is just going to get the container where we want to show the code. So if I just go back to the HTML, you can see this is our container. Right now, it's hidden and it has a white background. I'll tell you why I did that in a moment. So we get that container and we're just going to give it a min height of, I don't know, 500 pixels. And then we're just going to set the HTML to be, let's hit share, get this iframe, paste this in. We'll make the height 100%, width 100%. That looks pretty good. And then we need to remove class d_none. I guess honestly, because we don't have a button to take the iframe back away, it's actually pointless to hide this because we're hiding something that's empty, and then when we put something into it, we're unhiding it. But since it's empty, it doesn't show anything anyway. So we run this. Let's go to slide 1, hit check it out, and now something appears at the bottom, and it is so if I hit play, this should run another slideshow down here. It's technically running on a different web page, just embedded inside of ours.